Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.
It's very, important in my, and I'm sure everybody else's mind, that we close the tour out with a win. As far as it being detrimental if we were to have a loss, I don't think it's something that's crossing anybody's mind. I think it's focused on what you can control, and that's us and our performance. So as far as a loss, it's just another opportunity to learn and continue on the trajectory that we are on.
Welcome to U.S. Rugby Happy Hour Live. Interviews with the biggest names in American rugby.
The New England Free Jacks, Major League Rugby champions. One-on-one to score.
Here are your hosts, Bill Baker and that other guy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Something we haven't done in a while, Fitzy, is we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Bill Baker of Eagles Overseas, and you are who again?
That other guy.
That other guy, also known as John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning.
Don't remember what creditor is after me. I've got a bunch of names that I go by.
I'm Bill Baker. What do you mean?
I'm Bill Baker if I got a big bill coming. What's your address?
Fitzy, I'm excited about today. In just a few minutes, we'll have USA and Old Glory prop Jack Iscaro coming on. And our second jingle written by our newly formed jingle department, which I think is going to rock the socks off a bunch of people. So I'm excited about unveiling that before.
The AJ McGinty one last week was really good. So
it was.
Yeah.
I guess that was in my head until we did this one. So fun to cut that out of my mind. Before we get to it, Fitzy, let's talk about two players real quick. I'm going to start off with the USA Women's Rugby. Alef Kelter should make her debut for Loughborough Lightning this week against Leicester Tigers. That's a lot of USA Eagles playing for both of those teams. So I'm excited about that. Also, on the men's side, now you wrote about this in your newsletter today, or you quoted an article about this as well. Mitch Wilson has received a 3-game suspension for that head-to-head contact out in the wing. And what was interesting to me, Fitzy, was one of the reasons why he got a 3-game suspension was because he challenged the referee's decision that the act warranted a red card. Did you notice that?
Yeah, so 3-game, that'll be reduced to 2 once he attends, that coaching intervention, aka tackle school. So it'll be a 2-game suspension. So he'll miss the match on Saturday against Spain. But yeah, I think in the hearing, because I was watching the game, and that was a question that I had for a lot of folks. Like, I was watching that game simultaneously, Romania-Canada was playing, and there was a head-to-head contact there I thought was more egregious and definitely warranted a red card. And I thought it was interesting that Mitch Wilson in the hearing, I guess what we read in that World Rugby link, that he said, hey, look, okay, yeah, I accept that play, but I don't know if it was necessarily a red card. And I guess they reviewed it and said, no, we uphold the red card. So 2 games, but I think it was right for him to, and I get player health and safety, that's very important. But I think he had a case that it was not an intention to hit the head there, and that it shouldn't have been that high. So, but.
And this could be an unpopular opinion, but if you're going to have a player out for 20 minutes, there's going to be someone on the wing. Don't tell Mitch I said that. With that suspension, though, he misses Spain, as you mentioned, but if I'm correct there, he'll miss the first game of the season for Anthem as well.
I think if they have a preseason game, Anthem may decide to schedule a preseason game. Who knows what that schedule looks like.
That's true. Well, we saw the schedule. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But I did notice that the Free Jacks don't have Anthem twice this year, so that's good for the rest of these. All right, let's get on. Our guest is waiting for us, but prior to introducing him, just please do us a favor. If you're watching here live on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and give us a follow like, follow, and subscribe. Share the show with your friends. And also, if you're listening to the podcast replay, which comes out on Thursdays, go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe to those as well. And don't be afraid to comment during the show. We do see the chats up here on our little screen. And so if we see anything interesting, we might pop it up. If you got a question for our guest, one of us, we can do the same thing. So without further ado, here it is, our newest jingle introduction, written by our newest jingle team.
PC's finest loose head pop. Your mom's favorite Scrummager and even your pops. On loan from Calgary, USA Eagle number 553. He's just like you and me, he even stands to pee. Red, white, and blue glory, he bigger than a small Coro. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jack Iscaro.
Dude, it's been in that song has been in my head all night long. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll send it to you. You can put it in your workout playlist.
No, hold on. Did I hear your mom's favorite Scrummagers?
Yes. But easy. We'll play another time later. And his pops. Not. Anyway, past that. Jack, how are you, man?
Yeah, doing well. Third week on the trot here, a little over that, but yeah, doing well. Spirits are high, obviously. Off the back of 2 wins. Just getting ready for the third game this weekend, and yeah, just kind of pedal to the metal, I guess.
Well, nicely done with the jingle too. Before we get to on the pitch, let's talk about off the pitch. You know, again, you Portugal, France, now Spain. You had to be enjoying yourself off the field also, and eating some good food as well, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a good job of making sure we're pretty locked in. We get some time off, obviously, to do some excursions and whatnot. Like we were in Madrid today, which is awesome. Obviously, 3 pretty awesome rugby countries, and hadn't been to France since I was probably 16 for a rugby tour. So it's really cool to play in those atmospheres and to get out and explore. And yeah, the food's definitely been solid. So can't enjoy it too much.
And I imagine after the Spain match that you may be able to enjoy some of the finer wines in that I'm not the biggest wine guy, but if someone hands me a fine glass of wine from Chambéry, France or whatever, that you might enjoy it post the Spain match. So not much of a question there unless
If everything goes to plan and we get the job done, I'm sure there'll be some time to sit back and hopefully enjoy that. But yeah, I think just give the right response here. Just ready for the game that's on.
So last week we chatted with Fly F AJ McGinty, and his roommate was Nate Osberger, and he was in the background doing a crossword puzzle. So we got to ask, who are you rooming with on this trip?
I'm rooming with Corey Daniel. He's not in the room, unfortunately, but yeah, Nate's been I've gotten in on the crossword puzzles with Nate, so that started on the first bus ride we had here from Lisbon to Coimbra. We were got stuck in on some crosswords, so all you can.
Well, last question on roommates here, and all the tours you've been doing for the men's Eagles. Is there one player who has a reputation for being not the best roommate? Maybe the person snores too loudly, has a bad taste in music. Give us something, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to throw anybody under the bus, but definitely some snorers. I think I've unfortunately had a couple of them over the years. I think Cam Dolan was pretty bad snorer. Yeah, on his back because it was a long night if he did. Alex Maughan's another one that he can it's hit or miss for him, it's good nights, bad nights. But yeah, I think it's about filling out the spreadsheet early enough that you get your preferred roommate. But no, everybody's good. Nothing too bad.
All right, Jack, let's talk on the field. Obviously, you said everyone knows at this point you've been successful over the first two matches at least, but I want to talk a bit about the Tonga match. What did that 5-minute defensive stand, I'm sorry, against Portugal, the 5-minute defensive stand, backed up against your goal line, for the team. What does that mean or say about the current squad?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just ties back into our core values. Love, work, and energy, and that was a whole lot of love, work, and energy. So, um, rev- I mean, obviously, I was in the stands at that point, so all you can really do is pray and cheer them on. But man, yeah, it inspired a lot of belief and a lot of just good vibes around all the work that we have been putting in. So, obviously we know how hard we work, but to see that sort of exemplified in a 5-minute defensive stand, I don't know that you can really capture something better than that. So, uh, just a whole lot of relief at the final whistle, but yeah, just super proud of the boys that stuck it out there.
And in both the Portugal and Tonga match, there really seemed to be an emphasis on like the quick rucks, quick ball out of the rucks that keep the pace going. Has that been something the team has been working on leading up, at least? I mean, throughout the whole year, but at least going into this tour.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that probably comes from nailing the details and the technicality, and so a big emphasis on our cleanouts and our carries, our work on the ground as a ball carrier. I think when you combine those things, you get quick ball and you put defenses under pressure. I think looking at our ball and play metrics compared to the World Rugby matches that are going on, we're doing really well as far as ball and play, and we're showing that we can play for extended periods of time, and that's something that we're proud of, and um, we want to keep building our ability to do that in those big games.
Yeah, as we talked a little bit about kind of weathering situations, like Tonga match, 35, 36 minutes into it, you're all up, controlling the match up 19-7, and then Mitch Wilson gets that red card for a high tackle. We can debate, other people could debate whether or not he deserved that, but do y'all have like I guess, like a game plan for if there is a 20-minute red card, kind of depending on the situation? Is there like a game plan that you guys follow? It says, all right, we got to buckle down and this is what we need to do, or is it just kind of play on?
No, I mean, ironically, I think even it had been mentioned at one point, I think in the week or two leading up to it, that we hadn't had a red card under Scott's tenure, and when that did happen, sorry, I'll add on to that. In the training we did in Portugal, there was some times where we trained a man down just to sort of pressure ourselves and to stress that sort of line break into some more defensive stands. So, ironically, it felt a bit familiar to something we'd done in training. But no, as far as you definitely don't want. I mean, you definitely hope that you're not in that scenario in a game. But I think obviously, as far as the outside backs and the back three, they have probably a different protocol that they have to enact once that happens. But as far as the tight five and whatnot, it was just a big message of, okay, we got 20 minutes of really hard work. We got to bear down these next 20 minutes, and you know, there were a couple moments within that time, like Ruben had that intercept try, I believe, during that 20-minute period, and you know that lifts your spirits pretty big time, and just felt very comfortable in the group to just bear down and fight hard for those 20. And yeah, not too much of a plan, not too much was stressed about it, but obviously yeah, you got to work a little harder.
Mentioned, last week of the 3-week tour here. Yeah, how are you feeling? How's the body holding up, right? I mean, Tonga, it's some big confrontational dudes in that pack. How's your body feeling?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think you obviously first and foremost are the medical staff and everybody that takes care of you week in, week out. The strength and conditioning staff, they're the best at what they do, and that we have. And can't credit them enough for keeping the boys together. But you know, I think when you train at a hard level and when you are prepared, you tend to, stay in one piece and, um, yeah, all good. I mean, I think there's, it's one of those things where you're there for 3 weeks and, you're gonna have some time off, so you're willing to kind of strap in for the last week or so, and yeah, bodies are good. Everybody's been training just as hard
The-
as we have.
Yeah. These are the questions I really don't like asking because I don't want to be negative ever about things, unless I'm talking to 50 about anything else. But uh, line out. Uh, you tell us a bit about the line out situation with the team. Obviously, it wasn't up to par for everybody. And again, I'm not pointing out anybody. Can you talk about that? Is it a timing issue? Is it just not playing together as much? Anything you share about that?
Well, I think when you're looking at lineup success, obviously you look at yourself and your drill and your and all of those factors, but I think you know, you have to account for some really great play on the opposition side. I think Portugal's 7, who's a pretty solid player in his own right, was really giving us a hard time there. And like a lot of things in rugby, there's and especially in set piece, the your eyes tend to look at certain people involved, but in all honesty and in all reality, there's a lot of moving parts that go into that. And I think yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think we've shown that we can get the job done in that department. Obviously, it's something that we have standards for, and we want to continue to meet those standards. And like you said, in some of these games, we haven't been up to par, but um, it's not something that I think anybody's stressing too hard. I think we'll keep getting better at it and make sure that our it's functioning as good as it can.
Was that your first try in an Eagles uniform?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely don't. I haven't scored too many in general at the pro level, but yeah, first in the Eagles.
Probably played too much with Joe Taufete. He's always getting the tries, but uh, talk about that feeling. I mean, is it even something you even thought about? Because it's middle of a match, adrenaline's going, whatever, ball's down, you're running back. Is it in your
I
mind?
think
Yeah.
I think oh, as far as it being my first try,
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah, I think you probably crossed my mind like, God, that hasn't happened, ever. But in the moment, yeah, I mean, when you're battering at the line, I think everyone will tell you that like when you're there and you're going to get a crack at it, you probably crosses your mind. I want to score here, obviously, and I think more often than not, when I've been in those scenarios, you probably get a couple shoulders, driving you back into the ground. But yeah, in that instance, I remember just saying of think we try and just, sometimes a quick pick, catch them off guard. And yeah, it's a little bit of a feeling like, oh yeah, I got it over the line. Like, yeah, I remember just, I looked to my right and I didn't see the referee. And so I was freaking out, like trying to be like, I scored it, I scored it. 'Cause everybody's been le- pretty fun. But yeah, it's a cool feeling.
Yeah, Jack, I'm sure you guys have seen the film already, but when we were watching it live, there's a big pile of guys on top of you, and you can see your arm just kind of reach up in the air with the index finger to be like, "Hey, I got it." Like, come on.
Like any good group of teammates, they definitely gave me some made fun of me a little bit for that. They were like, "All right, we got it. We know you did." So, but yeah.
Jack, from a fan's point of view, it seems the scrums are going really well, on your guys' side. Do y'all have, I guess, excuse me, different tactics based on, like, who you face? So for instance, this weekend's opponent against Spain, y'all prepare differently for Spain's pack than, say, Tonga's or Portugal's?
I think, as far as the front row goes, you'll do some homework on individuals that, they've been consistently playing and small details, nothing crazy, but yeah, you'll look at tendencies they have and okay, this guy likes to do this or that or just kind of bigger themes like okay, Tonga's going to have a big heavy pack, so, obviously Ben Tameifuna, big tight head. So that factors in a little bit. Like just what you're preparing for and what you might need to emphasize. Things like the surface that you're on, little details. But as far as the general sort of thought process, that's a big focus on yourself and, what we want to do as a pack. It's great to see some success in that department. Obviously, it's something that takes a lot of work and doesn't happen overnight. But it's definitely our goal that we want to establish ourselves as the best forward pack in tier 2. And I think obviously scrums are a big part of that.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And back to the show. And of course, we mentioned that, the wins over Portugal and Tonga, how big they are. There's that saying, winning breeds winning. How important is it to the team, or will it be for the team, to pull out a victory again this weekend to go undefeated in this tour? And on the flip side, would a loss to Spain diminish the accomplishment you guys have made in the other 2 matches?
I mean, I think anytime you play any game against anybody, your goal is to win for the country. And I think, obviously, our goal outside of winning is to, inspire with how we play and to have our efforts out there on the field show what it means to us and how hard we work. So it's very important in my, and I'm sure everybody else's mind, that we close the tour out with a win. As far as it being detrimental if we were to have a loss, I don't think it's something that's crossing anybody's mind. I think it's focused on what you can control, and that's us and our performance. So as far as a loss, I think, it's just another opportunity to learn and continue on the trajectory that we are on. And obviously, I in my mind, I hope that we can go out and do those things, like I said. But wins and losses, I think we're focused on how we play and meeting our personal standards.
Speaking about your first try, you've earned your first cap in 22 against Hong Kong. And when you look at some of the new guys coming in, getting their first caps this tour, do you remember that feeling right before you took the field in your first cap? And do you ever offer advice to these young guys, some of them?
Yeah, look, it was something that I'd worked towards for, since I started playing at, probably 10 years old. That was my biggest goal. That was something that I was dreaming about working towards for, the better part of a decade and a half. I think probably more so in the ceremony, the jersey presentation the night before. Probably that is where you're more thinking about it. You have some time to actually sit back and, call the family and everything. And, it was probably a moment that I thought about, well, what am I going to feel or what am I going to think in that moment? And, a lot of pride, a lot of, very grateful for everybody that had been involved in my journey and, my family, coaches, everything. So I always try to make sure to talk to the boys that are getting their debuts, just to, let them know to kind of soak it up, because, you only get one, and you want to make sure that they really, they're not too worried about anything, that they actually get to sit back and enjoy it. And, at the same time, just maybe some small messages, talking to guys before, even if they're getting subbed in late to the game and I'm off at that point, just kind of a quick word to just focus on their core jobs and, try to keep them calm.
And you've, I would say safely, but the number 1 jersey seems to be yours at this point, putting in over 60 minutes each of these first 2 matches of the tour and other games as well, of course. What are your international goals? Are you thinking way down the road, say 31 World Cup, or are you the guy that goes tour to tour? Let's just get on the team.
Yeah, I think it's the only mindset you really can have is tour to tour. I think even hearing, I appreciate it, but hearing that at the start, your brain immediately goes to like, that's not how I want to think about it. And it's the competition is what drives all of us. And I think the second you probably start feeling like you have things figured out or you have things nailed down is where you probably start getting a little complacent. And I've big aspirations for the team. Like I said, my big goal was to get into the Eagles, and once that came and went, it was like, okay, well, what's next? And I think for me now, it's just about what I want to achieve with this team, what I want to get for this team. Play my part in pushing the Eagles to the highest points that it can. And I think our primary goal right now is qualification for 2027. That's, I think, where our head's at, and it's what we're building towards. Obviously, we have a longer term plan as far as 2031, but I think that's a much bigger plan for the country as a whole. Kind of what generation or who's going to be in that squad is obviously a long ways away, but it's about what we can do now to lay the groundwork and give them the chance to go and achieve the heights that they can achieve. And if I've held up long enough that I'm there, then that's amazing.
Right, Jack, I want to switch gears a little bit here. Talk some Major League Rugby action. Of course, got to get this question out of the way. The 2025 season schedule came out this week. Fair to say that there's some issues with it, namely a few clubs have got probably like 2 or 3 games stacked up in like a 10-day period. So care to share your thoughts on what you've seen of the schedule so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably didn't pay it as much attention as I had in years past. I think I used to try to get my hands on it as soon as possible and read into it. And, I think now it's a bit more of like, okay, I took a look at it and obviously saw, yeah, it's hard. Like 3 games in 9 days or whatnot is tough. Um, Obviously, thinking from a player's perspective, that's something that, can concern you. Obviously, I have belief in all the people that are handling things, and, like my own squad, for example. Obviously, I know that they're going to make the rational decisions to take care of us. But at the same time, there's some thought around just that concept as a whole is a bit interesting. So, I think what happens and what comes out of it remains to be seen. But I think you know, can't play the game if the players aren't out on the field. So um, yeah, I'd like to see that. That's something that gets taken into account. Obviously, I know that there's a hard decision and hard job making the schedule in general, like fitting things in. I don't think that they did that just for the fun of it. I think that there's obviously some constraints they're working around, and like I said, we'll see what happens. I just think that it's important that at least, if the players are able to express what their opinion is on it, then, you know, that's great. And hopefully that message is heard and there can be some conversation.
Presumably, you're coming back to Old Glory, right? I don't think I've heard official team announcement.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw still.
Gotcha. Good. And I only asked because, we've seen Anthem, acquiring more men's Eagles. So curious if, if they've kicked the tire, so to speak, on your availability, to want to come down to the Charlotte area. So, as an Old Glory fan, I get a little nervous. That's all. Just, wanted to clear things up a little bit.
No, I'm a big fan of, I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, they put together a pretty team. So, um, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Jake, you mentioned earlier about playing when you were 10 years old. What position did you play when you first started?
If you can believe it or not, I never played out of the front row.
Oh, it usually changes. Like, yeah, I started as this, and I mean, yeah, as you grow.
You always hear about these guys that will as a fly half and then a back row and then eventually into the front row. I think I was I was pretty set in stone from the start. So maybe a game or two and that I up or somewhere in the back row. But yeah, it's been prop and hooker since day one.
So you were the stocky kid already at day one. You like they knew right away. Yeah.
I think that, and probably I don't think my dad was gonna let me stray too far from there. So I think he had his opinions on where I needed to play. So credit
So
to that.
is that how you got into it from your dad?
Yeah, yeah. So nothing, didn't really force it on me or anything, but started when I was about 10. in Maryland. So it's funny looking back, like my first teammate was Ben Sema, and his dad was coaching me. So it was a pretty stacked group of 10-year-olds. But yeah, I was always playing up in age groups and everything, and we all were. And yeah, it's those are my earliest memories are probably watching Six Nations games with my dad when I was really young on his on the computer, screens bang into like thousand goals and all that. But yeah, those are my earliest rugby memories.
We're gonna say it's just still like that on flow rugby, but yeah,
Wait, Fitzy, isn't both you guys, isn't Ben coaching with Old Glory, or is he with a different program? I forget.
Um, as far as I know, Ben's not with
Oh,
um, but yeah, I'm not sure.
ah,
Well, I guess, Jack, when you said you're always pouring up, identified in the front row pretty quickly. I guess you went on to play college at Berkeley. We'll got a question there in a second. But when did you get a sense that you're like, hey man, I'm pretty good at this sport?
mm,
I think I did a good job of always keep the second I would get to a point where I think I was like, okay, this isn't so hard. I would always go back up another age group. So I remember I was started when I was like 10, I was playing under 15s, and then, you got to 14 or so and you're playing under 15s, and then you were a freshman in high school and you're trying to play with, against seniors and everything. And, I probably thought I was pretty good in high school at the end of my time there, but, then you get to college and you realize, back to square one. And, even then, you think you're good, and then try to realize the professional game's a bit different, and then you get humbled again, and then you think you're good professional level, you get into international, and you get humbled again. So I think that's kind of in process. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think that's
So you played at Berkeley. Did Jack Clark or Tom Billets, did they fly across the country to recruit you, or what was that process like?
no, no. I had a weird situation. A lot of guys, Cal obviously has a pretty good summer camp that they recruit pretty heavily from. I had no um, contact or intention. I didn't know anything really about it. My brother was at Penn State playing, and so I was kind of thinking, okay, I'm just gonna, go there. And I remember I applied kind of on a whim, just applied, luckily. And I remember I got a call probably in very early January of my senior year, which is, quite late. And it was from uh, Jerry Fragoni, who's at Cal for many years, and he kind of was asking if his information was right. And he was like, "Did you apply to Cal?" And ended up flying out to visit. So I was, putting in the legwork. But yeah, it was luckily they were really, gracious and were happy to have me, and everything ended up working out. But yeah, didn't even wasn't really a thing until probably early spring of my senior year.
wow. All right, Jack, we're going to leave you with one last thing, and I'm actually going to have Fitzy run with this because I think his answers here, it's a little word association game for you. I think his answers are more personal to him than they are to me. So, Fitzy, you take over.
Yeah, so Jack, all you need to do is just think of the first thing that comes to your mind when I say this word or phrase, okay? So I'll start you off. DeMatha High School.
Rival.
Okay, okay. I went to Pilate High School, by the way. We got smashed by Gonzaga and DeMatha, but neither here nor there. UCLA.
Blue. I always liked their color blue, to be honest. I think they have a great color.
I like the Pyramid of Success. My 7th grade teacher, Mr. Brown, anytime we would get in trouble, we'd have to write John Wooden's Pyramid of Success. You think by the number of times I've written it that I would have achieved any success in life, but I guess not. Moving on. The Commanders.
Ravens. I'm a Ravens fan.
I almost went Ravens. That's okay. The New England Free Jacks.
Rivals. Rivals again. Yeah.
You don't want any bulletin board material. That was Bill Hubbard of you. Okay, this is the most important one. Your thoughts on the jingle that we played at the top of the show for you?
Electric. Yeah. Yet?
We're going to get out there and should be probably trending towards top 10 before you know it. We'll let you know.
But we're streaming with Taylor Swift.
Hey, Jack, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been busy all day, all week, obviously, and we really do appreciate you jumping on here for the short time. Good luck this weekend against Spain, and good luck with Oklahoma as well next season.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Hey, I didn't cut off the guest this time. I waited.
That was good. You were like, all right, get out of here.
Yeah, we got things to talk about. Those joining in late, that was, I almost said Jack Clark. That was not Jack Clark. That was Iscaro, a prop for Oklahoma DC and also USA Eagles. The dude been playing over 60 minutes the last couple of games, and those are physical games. I mean, Fitzy, I'm sore after, especially that Tonga match. I go with those big dudes. I don't know how these guys do it. He's been doing it since 10 years old. A prop. And I've seen him play. You've seen him standing after a match. Does he stand upright? Because, I mean, all that.
Well, it was just funny, right? Because, like, yeah, you look at, you meet him in person, you're like, yeah, I can see you're obviously a front row player. Everyone thought he was a front row player when he first started playing rugby, which is pretty funny. But that's amazing, right? To be 10 playing 4 or 5 years above your level, like that's pretty wild.
We got to get more kids at 10, whatever age it is, into the game, because look at so many players on the USA men's squad right now. Connor, Nate Oxberger, all these guys played when we were kids. Jack, what these guys? They've all played at a younger age. Not all of them, but majority of them have. So it's so important, and you can see the direct result of that experience. They moved up 4 spots on this tour so far. Hopefully, they stay at 15. They do risk dropping down 1 or 2 spots if they lose to Spain, depending on how much they lose by. But they're not going to do it. It's got to be a win for them. We got to come out of here
No, give me your score prediction. Give me your score prediction for the Spain match.
It's not going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be like 17-6. Let's just go with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I had a conversation with Alistair Kirschbull, Glorious Rugby Podcast. He's a local Eagles fan. We talk about our score prediction. I think it could potentially be a high-scoring game. I think there can be some electric play in the bag. I feel like if we can control the game with our forwards, dominate them, and soften up that Spain defense and get our boys running, I think we might hit the 40 barrier again. I'm going to go 40, I think 34, something like that. Check that out.
I like that. I want that. I want to see scoring. I want to see high pace action at offense. All right.
I just want a W. I'll take a win. If they lose, that's fine. But, they've been playing well. Any result would not diminish how their performance and progress so far in November.
Yes, but we want to win. We talked to Greg Peterson, Scott Lawrence. Those guys are like, yeah, we want to win. We want to win. And the way Spain's been playing, I think even a bigger win, a bigger victory would be than over Tonga or Portugal. I do, because just the way Spain's been playing. All right, Fitz, just wrap it up. And to do so, we're going to play our intro song for Jack Iscaro. So if you missed it at the beginning, we're going to play the extended version, but I will stop at some point because it is a couple minutes long. So this one's not. This one is just the edited version for the open. But hope you enjoy it. Thank you all for tuning in for this episode. Check us out next time. Cheers. Enjoy the song.
Your mom's favorite Scrummager and even your pops. Alone from Calgary, USA Eagle number 553. He's just like you and me, he even stands to pee. Red, white, and blue glory, he bigger than a small Coro. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jack Iscaro. PC's finest, loose head pop. Let's welcome Jack Iscaro.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.